Hey guys, what's up? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. So in this one, I want to focus on this particular tweet that was up about 4 or so days ago from the official Splitgate 2 account over here on X or Twitter, because this particular part is something I want to focus on. And then once we get into the responses and stuff like that in a brief discussion, we're going to have a more in-depth discussion once we get into the regular gameplay in the background, the regular gameplay commentary, as well as to tell you why I actually decided against making a video that was originally supposed to release in this video's place. And I'm going to go into that in detail towards the end before we close. But let's get into the meat and potatoes, so to speak. And now first it says, obviously, Ranked Arena, Mastery Camos, a new map, and more. Season 1, Chapter 2 begins July 3rd. I think, again, this is what kind of caught my attention days ago. So, and now we have the tracker network. Now, the tracker network, for those of you guys that don't know, is basically the stat tracker, the Splitgate2.gg or whatever, that has very, very basic stats at this point because they're in beta. And basically at this point, Splitgate 2 responds to these guys basically saying, might need some updates to Splitgate 2 tracker with the eyes emoji, right? So that right there says quite a bit right there, to where it kind of hints at something, right? Maybe this will get out of beta. We never know. But when we go to the replies, right here, this Brandon person over here says 1000% a better call to push stats in the game. Let's get some levels to work towards. Game feels very empty and hardly anybody playing it. Some player names in different game modes. And Splitgate 2 responds with, it's on the way, we just have a few other priorities, right? So other priorities, have you released the full game and have no content in it? They can't obviously give everything. So, and then over here we have mixes to the fixes to this terrible stutters in VR, any performance updates, or just throwing camos in the game modes at us. Splitgate 2 responds with, always looking for ways to optimize performance. Full patch details will be released closer to the date. So obviously the date is Thursday of this week, right? So basically once we get into Thursday, we're basically going to have either a trailer or something else that's going to be put up in the form of patch notes and or both in terms of what's going to be happening with Chapter 2 in Season 1. So a trailer would make sense because it would be like Chapter 2 or whatnot. Or anyway, so next up we have Ranked BR, question mark, question mark, question mark, and then Splitgate 2 responds with Arena first, which is a very good response. So let's see, can we get a combat record? In the works, but won't make it for this update. So for those of you guys who have been wondering if there's going to be an official combat record in this game, that pretty much says it all right here. And the big thing about this is that, number one, we know it's coming, and number two, please, if any dev out there is listening, please, 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 make it better than the X-Defiant combat record, because originally they had something for the first few months and then they updated it in the final update or whatnot, but it still wasn't anywhere near complete. It still wasn't tracking after a certain point or whatnot. Obviously, probably because the devs ended up getting laid off. That's my assumption as to why it wasn't getting updated in real time, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, please make it better than the X-Defiant combat record, please. And if you can include leaderboards in as well, that'd be great. But in my opinion, not a necessity. That's just basically a novelty. That's not really a necessity. So let me see if I can dig up anything more over here before we go on. Blah, 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 nothing. And pretty much nothing. So that is it as far as the Twitter thing is concerned. Now, let's get into the regular style of gameplay commentary for a few minutes, so that way we can go more in depth as to what this, and more could possibly be. Oh, there is one thing though. There is one thing. They did answer something that I was actually really excited about, because I saw it before getting on here. Here we go. Sounds great question. Do extra tokens from Season 1, Chapter 1 carry over to Chapter 2? The answer is yes. So I think those are the little blue ribbons or whatnot. So basically, if you have accumulated a whole bunch of them, they carry over into the next one. And again, the reason why they would carry over is not just for, granted, you can unlock the stuff in the Battle Pass really quick if that's going to be your sole focus. But something tells me that they might use these blue ribbons, whether it's in this current update or in the future update, for something more. So let's get into the regular gameplay commentary so we can go more in depth about that in terms of speculating what it is. And by Thursday, if not sooner, we will find out. All right, guys, welcome back. So what could those things be? Now, at first I was speculating, oh my gosh, are they going to have some sort of combat record because they were talking to Stat Tracker or whatnot? But no, that is going to come later on down the line. But that doesn't mean that Stack Tracker might not be. It might be updated. Come later this week out of beta and into something a little bit more lucrative. But it's all we've got at the moment. But it is something that's coming. But as I mentioned, we've got those tokens, those little blue tokens or whatnot that you get for completing challenges, dailies, weeklies, monthlies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so far, the only thing that we're using it for is to basically get things from the battle pass, right? It helps us unlock the battle pass, right? Okay, cool. But obviously, as you guys know, this could be used for a multitude of things, whether they introduce another way to get more things like a contract system, or additional challenges that may or may not be tied to the camo mastery system, things like wager matches. I mean, because if you think about it, wager matches has already been kind of hinted because they have their own version of gun game or whatever it is called Fiesta, I think, something like that, right? Ultimately, that's a party game. So if you can make a wager match in the form of a party game, I think that would be really freaking cool because again, if there ends up being some sort of stat, whether it's in the leaderboards or whether it's in the combat record or whatnot, for quote unquote richest Splitgate player or something like that, as well as somebody who's got everything that they could possibly unlock in terms of just by playing the game, not by the store, but just by playing the game, I think that'd be really cool. Like if there was a stat or something for a richest Splitgate player or something like that, right? And obviously in ways that you can use it in different ways, maybe to unlock pieces of gear in different colors for your particular faction. I mean, the sky's the limit, right? We've already kind of discussed this in a video in terms of what people can do. Or what the devs can create for people to basically grind for. And basically they've been, ever since they've told us that a progression system is on their docket, they've been kind of quiet about it. So I think I wouldn't be too surprised, to be honest with you, if they release some sort of progression system to go along with the mastery camo system, right? Because I think, first of all, I think that would be a huge thing. Like let's just say hypothetically, right? If they were to release that along with ranked and along with the mastery camo grind, that's actually pretty damn quick. And they're working. I mean, we already know they are, but when the results are presented to players, which is basically what so many players need nowadays, instead of just having faith, is like, that is proof, right? And then obviously, if this progression system ends up getting upgraded within every chapter, aka once a month, I think that's something that is really huge because you have to like kind of keep up with it. And as long as players don't lose it, kind of like the battle pass, you don't want, like, obviously, a lot of people are saying once you have a battle pass, you never lose it, right? I mean, Halo Infinite did that, right? And other games have been, other players have been saying for other games to do that. And if they were to do that with another thing, if they were actually to do that and announce that, I think that would also be big. I know that there are those of us that really don't care about the battle pass, but the thing is, ultimately, at the end of the day, you've purchased something, and we don't want that to expire. Kind of like video games, so to speak, right? If you digitally purchase something, we don't want that game to be unavailable at any point in time, right? Because you've purchased it, right? So obviously, you guys know what I'm hinting at with that one. If you think about what's been really popular lately. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would, and yet I wouldn't be surprised because again, they work really quickly. In order for them to create a progression system, that would be huge. You can tell, like when they said that they shifted priorities or something like that, and I'm paraphrasing, right? In their last update, the same update about where the devs, or excuse me, the two CEOs are no longer taking salaries and the layoffs, basically, right? If they've shifted their pieces around a little bit, I think what they've done is if some sort of progression system gets released, that basically they shifted everybody's attention or to the ones that are capable of to basically that, so that way we can get that all out. Because again, and as well as some faction changes, I think if there's anything at all that's closer to home in terms of something that could get a change of some kind, it would be with the factions, because that's the survey that we recently did. And if they took all that feedback to heart, now granted, they wouldn't have had a lot of time to work on it. So something like a progression system, which they've been aware of for a longer time, that the community has been wanting, and they've moved it up to their priority list, obviously, which I believe they've mentioned as well. I think that's more likely to be sooner, but at the same time, maybe faction changes is something that is easier and less time consuming to perform. So I would say that would also be a pretty good shot at happening. But whatever that something more is, I'm really curious as to see what it is. And we're only about 3 or 4 days away as of the time of this recording from that coming to fruition. So that's exciting. And of course, before we close here, I want to briefly talk about what I was going to talk about today originally and why I decided to back off on it, because I thought it was way too much of a low blow and I really had no place in saying anything. So what am I talking about? Well, today's title was going to be very spicy and today's topic of discussion was going to be very spicy. And it was about whether or not, the devs and the CEOs just spent too much money on marketing or on these other, big name sponsored streamers and stuff like that. And quite frankly, I decided to not make a video about that. Now, the reason being is because, first of all, you don't tell anybody or any other organization on how to spend their money, unless you're in charge of that. Or unless you're a professional at knowing all that and the finances and the business side to gaming and all that kind of stuff, if you're one of these people that don't know much or anything about that, like myself, therefore you really don't have a say in it. It's one thing to criticize a game that you're playing for as much as you are, and because you've been playing video games, first-person shooter video games for like over 20 years, criticism, I think you've earned the right for criticism because you've got firsthand experience and you have a certain level of knowledge of what you're talking about, and you've firsthand played the games and you've played different games and you have a lot of experience in the field in that aspect, right? So therefore, your words hold a little bit more weight, right? But for someone who doesn't have, the business side and the financial side and stuff like that, who the hell am I with so limited to no knowledge on the matter whatsoever, right? To basically make a video about being curious on whether or not they overspent, especially if I don't have, nearly as much of a picture or even how everything works and stuff like that. I think it would have been a really big low blow. It would have been low blow. It would have been very just no. That's something that I definitely didn't want to do. So it would have been spicy, but at the same time, it's like, why? You know what I mean? It just didn't make sense for someone like me. Now, if I was a financial expert, if I was one of the people in charge and stuff like that, and if I had all this experience on the financial and the business side of the video game industry and how that works and all that kind of stuff, like literally from the inside, from firsthand experience, like I do, currently playing first person shooters, then that would make more sense for me to talk about it, right? But since I'm not that person, right? I'm just the guy who's playing video games and making content. And, at times I will criticize the game as well, because of my personal experience and my opinions, et cetera, et cetera. And one more thing about criticism, right? If we continuously just praise a game and ignore the problems that are there, and the more experience you have in playing games, the more you're able to see problems, right? So if we ignore problems, in the video game, it's basically the game is gonna suffer, right? There's a reason why there are certain, top bosses in any field that don't like yes men, and yes men are the ones that continuously yes and continuously agree or don't challenge, or throw something else in there towards like, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea, and don't speak up. And this is me. I'm one of those people that would rather speak up when they see something that could be done better, improved. And I'm coming from a place of passion. I'm not coming from a place of hate. Just in case you didn't know that. Thankfully, I'd say 90+% of you do. But I wanted to make myself very clear on that because, again, if I despised this game, I would not be playing it as much as I have. I would not be streaming it as much as I have. And I sure as hell wouldn't be making content as much as I had on it because, quite frankly, that would burn me out. Why do you think I stopped doing Call of Duty content? I got burnt out on talking about the things that just kept on getting worse and worse and worse with that franchise. And eventually, I'm no longer playing COD anymore. Nor was I, nor I got rid of my, Call of Duty yearly cycle, or whatever you want to call it. And basically it's been nothing but a much better YouTube and gaming experience ever since then. Right. So it's been like, what, 4 years or something like that since Vanguard, like the first few weeks of Vanguard. So there you have it. So with that being said, guys, that's all I got to say. Let me know in the comment section below in terms of what you think as far as today's topic is concerned, because I myself love a good surprise, right? Bad surprises I obviously hate, but good surprises I love. So if this is something that I don't see coming that I think would add a lot more let's say a lot more meat on the bones of this game, which definitely it needs. I mean, for most people, like for me, I'm hooked on the game as it is, but at the same time, even I can appreciate something to where it's like, hey, I've got yet another reason to grind, and maybe my dopamine will get a little bit of a bonus because of it, right? So I'm all about that, and I definitely see it and understand it myself. I mean, I used to grind up until max level when it came to Call of Duty anyway. So yeah, with that being said, guys, let me know in the comment section in terms of what you think of today's topic. And as always, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.